You're listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marci Persky. In this installment, if you have any kind of squeamishness about vermin of any sort, skip this podcast. But if not, you're about to find out how little I know about Marci's frogs and how much I know about New York City cockroaches.
Remember my little aquarium frogs, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill?
Yes, the ones I suggested that you put a little float in
there.
Didn't
have a raft?
Yes, I was. I was worried about your miniature frogs.
I investigated that.
Yes.
And they don't need rafts.
You're sure?
Little frogs do not need rafts. I looked all over. I read all kinds of aquarium books. I asked 2 different aquariums because there's only 2 in Flagstaff, and asked them if my frogs need little rafts, and they laughed at me at both places. And I said, well, my very highly educated friend in Chicago told me that my frogs were going to die without rafts.
I didn't say they were going to die. I said they wouldn't live as long.
On little rafts.
I said they wouldn't live as long. That's what I said.
Let me tell you.
I said they get tired from swimming all the time. They like to have a place to rest.
They're ginormous.
What? They got big?
They got big, yeah.
Oh, okay, well. Have you ever had one of those pets that just refuses to die, that maybe your kid left and it just goes on and on and on?
Had some relatives.
You have some relatives like this, you say?
No, I didn't say that.
I heard you say that. I did. I heard you say that.
No, I've never had a pet that refused to die.
Oh, my girlfriend had this frog that her kid brought home from school in like 3rd grade. And I remember walking into her kitchen, and I had seen it so often I'd almost forgotten it was there. And I said, is there anything in that aquarium that's covered on the walls with algae? And she said, oh, yes, David's frog. I'm like, David just finished graduate school. What the hell is his frog doing here? David finished an MBA 2 years ago. Why is the frog here?
That's just wrong.
I know. I just, I love my friends. They're so responsible. They're such responsible people. Like,
except when it comes to their frog.
No, she's been looking after this frog for 20 years. She may not keep the tank crystal clear, but I promise you that frog gets fed. I don't know if you can really love a frog, but, or pet it.
Love anything.
Well, I don't know if you can really pet it and have an affectionate. I'm always amazed at people who imagine they have really personal relationships with certain kinds of pets. I'm always a little bit astonished at people who imagine that, for example, their snake likes them.
I do have a child like that who thinks that snakes and turtles and various reptiles love her. And yes, I have trouble relating to that, but then I think that my fish love me.
All right. Well, to each her own.
That's right. And okay, now.
Yes.
I just remembered this. This is so frightening. I saw this on the news last night. Have you seen about these spiders that are just supposed to be falling out of the sky all along the East Coast?
What?
And
no.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it? There was something else
giant
that was falling out of your sky not too long ago. What was it? A kind of a bird or a wasp or a something that was after you?
We were talking about tarantula wasps.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But they don't fall out of the sky.
No. Okay, so
let me find this yellow spider. It's a spider.
And and what does it do exactly?
Nothing.
It flies? How does it?
They're really scary and they're really big. They're like as big as your head.
What?
They're not that big.
Where do
but
they?
I saw them on the news. Giant spiders are invading the East Coast. This is not a drill. And then there's a picture.
Okay, what is this, the National Enquirer or something? What are you reading?
No, this is from USA Today.
Oh, yeah, that's just one step above the National Enquirer.
No, look, I'm showing you a picture of the spider.
Well, it's on your phone, so how big can it be?
It's huge. It says that they're the Jordo spider. It's an invasive species native to Asia, and they're 3 inches long, and they parachute.
Well, that'll teach us not to import any produce from Asia.
There you go.
So what you're saying is we're going to have essentially no produce at all. There goes our Mexican avocado due to the violent cartel along the border, and then spider-infested Asian imports. Although, for all I know, they came in with refrigerator magnets or computer parts. I'm just guessing produce there.
Yeah.
So we'll have peaches and pears and Michigan apples. And we can change the slogan so it says an apple a day keeps the parachuting giant spider away. That's catchy.
But yes, they're a crazy East Coast thing.
How did they get, well, if they're on the East Coast, I dare them to come to Chicago. They'll freeze their little 8 legs off.
Yeah, it's a 3-inch long parachuting yellow striped spider.
3-inch long's not really that. Is that with or without the legs?
That's its body.
Oh, that is rather large.
Yes. And it says that they've been coming. They actually first came in 2013 in the Southeast, but now they're moving thanks to climate change.
Well, what do they bite you or at all? Are they venomous?
I really don't know, but this person is advising everyone to immediately move to the Midwest.
No, I don't want you here, you you arachnophobic people. You arachnophobes, you just stay where you are. I don't want you squishing the spiders around here. They perform a useful function.
But they keep talking about it on the news here, which is very Southwest. And I think it's kind of a nan-nan and an thing over to the East Coast.
Yeah, it's supposed to make you feel better about living with scorpions.
Yeah.
And all the other desert stuff and rattlesnakes.
They said it's starting to be rattlesnake season, even with snow on the ground.
Well, you see there. And so to make you feel better about having to wear hip waders every place you go, leather gaiters.
I think it would be pretty frightening to have a 3-inch long spider parachute onto the top of your head.
That's just an excuse for wearing a bigger hat. That's all.
That's true.
It's a bigger. That's it. You'll all be looking like Brokeback Mountain pretty soon. You'll have those leather chaps and you'll have the giant 10-gallon hat and you'll all be carrying whips so that you can twirl them around like helicopter blades and keep
in
these
New York
spiders.
City?
No, in Arizona, if that's what they're
They
doing.
don't have them in Arizona. They're on the East Coast.
Well, believe me, in New York City, they got plenty other things jumping out of the area.
That's true too.
It's the least of their worries.
I'm picturing like on the Easter parade or Sunday, where the ladies wear their fancy hats over on.
Yeah, decorate them with some spiders.
Decorate them with fly paper. And they just have the spiders.
We're really mean. That's not nice. That's cruelty to spiders.
That's true.
Although a genuine New York City hat would be just festooned entirely with roach motels.
That would be nice.
I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard that somebody adopted a lizard that lived behind their stove where the pilot light was on that eradicated their entire cockroach problem very quickly. And I don't remember where I heard it or if it was true or lore or made up or wishful thinking. But I loved the idea of it, that you would just adopt a lizard. You would never see it because it would only come out at night and it would live behind your stove where it's nice and cozy with your pilot light. And that it would hunt your roaches by night. I loved that. Because in New York, no matter what anybody tells you, you can have a brand new apartment building. And this is, by the way, believe it or not, this has something to do with the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Lizards?
Yeah, because the Russian oligarchs have bought half of the penthouses in New York City and all the luxury apartments. There are so many roaches in New York City that you could be a bazillionaire Russian oligarch and you could buy a $30 million apartment and still at night the roaches would be moving your kitchen implements around. That's New York City. I don't know how they get 40 stories up 3 minutes after a building is open for occupancy, but they do.
I could never move to Florida because roaches down there fly.
Well,
they give them the fancy name. It's a palmetto bug.
Yeah, it's a roach.
It's a giant roach.
Yeah, in my youth, I was desperate for a hotel room when I hitchhiked basically down to Florida, and I rented with a friend this inexpensive hotel room in Kissimmee so we could go to Disney World, which I'd never done. And we walked into the motel room and I said, "Isn't flocked wallpaper a little bit out of date?" And then I flipped on the light and all the flocking ran for the corners of the room.
See, that's what you get for hitchhiking. Didn't your mom warn you?
That's not what my mother warned me about hitchhiking. She didn't say, don't ever hitchhike because you'll end up in a hotel room in Kissimmee with giant palmetto bugs. It was so bad. I took a shower in my clogs, my suede clogs.
I've never seen like cockroaches up here in the mountain, but we have these giant black beetles that come out in the summer.
Mm.
That when the youngest child was young, she would call them stalkers because they seem to like follow you around.
Huh.
And I guess they're stink bugs, but I've never smelled one before.
I think for them to smell, that a human would smell it, and I may be wrong. This may be right up there in frog and raft territory. But I think you have to squish them or frighten them for them to do that, like skunks, for humans to smell them, I think.
See, I don't squish them because then I worry that their whole family's going to come back and squish me.
A perfectly rational worry and concern.
Yes.
Perfectly reasonable concern. But it's hypocritical for me to make fun of you for that, because I actually once had a nightmare where every bug I had ever stomped on or swatted at or sprayed was coming back to kill me, and they were all like 10,000 times my size. And I remembered this dream, which is unusual. Went to the therapist, asked her what it meant, and she said, I think it just means you're worried that small things will come back as big things. So I apologize, and I should not imply that that is an unreasonable thing to do or fear.
I also stick things in my mouth. So there you go.
Yeah, I can see a trend here. Thanks for listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. If you'd like to do us a great favor, please leave us a good review wherever you hear this podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Turi Ryder's She Said What. And you might also enjoy my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air, which you can find any place you buy your books or on Amazon.